Car Conversations with Mr. Cage. Today's thought is this: it is extremely hard or difficult to break a bad habit than it is to create a new one. It is extremely difficult or hard to break a bad habit than it is to create a new one. Parents, teachers, principals, assistant principals, counselors, social workers. I don't know if I said teachers, but if I didn't, teachers times two. This conversation is extremely important for us to have with our students and our kids. This is a proactive conversation, but it's also a reactive conversation too. And what do I mean by proactive versus reactive? Proactive means, in this context, to have a conversation with our students and our kids before the habit forms, transforming into a norm. It's the proactive part. The reactive part is that the behavior or the behavior pattern is already identified or has been formed as a norm for our kids and students. Students, generally speaking, in high school experiences, come late to class. I'm not a gambling man or a person, but if I was, I will bet my last dollar that more students are tardy to class than those who are on time. There are more students tardy to class than there are students who are on time to class. This is very problematic. Now, on the surface, it seems to be very minute. But the last three words in the word habit can signify to us that it can become a bigger issue, because habits are built bit by bit by bit. My goal in this conversation is to provide some insight on the why. Why does this occur? From my viewpoint and from the feedback of various high school students. And the what. What can we do to combat this issue? In addition to another what, if we get time. What are the implications or the ramifications of this type of behavior in connection to academics and their vocational career pathway, in addition to how this can impact them in the post-secondary aspect as well. Let's discuss it. Car Conversations. a senior cage. Training development specialist and manager, lead facilitator for potential teaching kids to think before they do. Again, this is a combination of my experience, study, research, insight, in addition to hearing from the students. One master key I will give you before we start and finish this conversation is this. Our students, our kids need room to voice their opinions and how they feel. Because from these conversations, this is, in my professional opinion, the most effective way to teach them. There are times when I can't give you a solution until I hear what you know or what your thoughts are about this particular topic. If I'm not open to hear what you think or what you know, and I can be shooting, I can be giving information, but if my aim is not accurate based on the target, which is the question of what you don't know, what you do know, I'm really shooting in the dark. Students come late to class for various reasons, but the general reason is culture. If students observe other students going to class late or coming in last minute, same thing, different expression, they will more than likely succumb to peer pressure. See, we see peer pressure as, especially with myself going to school in the 90s, we saw peer pressure as somebody offering you some drugs, someone having a conversation with you in attempts to influence you to do something that you knew your parents taught you not to do, or that they taught you better through conversation and a demonstration. We see peer pressure as that. But peer pressure can be very subtle. Peer pressure can be very subconscious in the behavior. And this is a good example of peer pressure for us. In today's society, students do not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Most of them don't stand. And when I ask them questions, why you don't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Most of them don't have a valid reason. When I say valid, what I mean is they don't have an explanation, like associating with facts or their belief system. What I've heard is, we just tired. But if you seeing more people not stand, the likelihood of you not standing, it increases. Because the majority of the people not standing, and they don't even know why. Most times we just succumb to peer pressure, and that's associated with culture. Most students, from my professional perspective, observation, experience, succumb to culture. It is difficult and hard to break a bad habit than it is to create one. Drilling down, going a little bit deeper with this culture piece. Students come to class late in a specifically high school setting because it's just the class. And when I get my job or career, I will be to work on time. It's possible. It's possible. But this is what I share with them. But I guarantee you this, that procrastination that you are succumbing to, it will find you somewhere else. It will find you. It may find you at your job, career, or vocation. It may find you in paying bills late. It may find you in getting to your son's or daughter's soccer game, volleyball game, basketball game late. It will follow you. It will follow you. It will follow you to the degree that you wait to the last minute to do things, because some people believe that they work better under pressure. I disagree, because if that statement is made, then we have to examine where you're speaking from. And for me, being a former college student, I noticed that being a college student and being a career development teacher, employability teacher, life skills, personal growth and development, me having that experience as a student and teaching students, I've had students say I work better under pressure, because once they finished what they were working on, they got a good grade. And that one instance put them in a mind frame of, I work better under pressure, or I work better alone. Different type of thought. Students come late to class because they see it as just a class. And many times it's a class that I'm not interested in. But that's another conversation for another day, because we can go into details as to why students feel or believe that the class or school is boring. But that's not the major objective of this conversation itself, or the major goal of this conversation. The major goal of this conversation is to examine the why. Why are they late? I gave you culture. I gave you peer pressure under the umbrella of culture. I also gave you that it's just a class. And what I say to them is that on a surface it's just a class, but underneath the surface you're building a habit that can transform into procrastination and can become a roadblock to you realizing, number one, and maximizing your full potential. Whether it be spiritually, mentally, physically, socially, academically, and emotionally, it can become a roadblock and it can become a deterrent that can stop you from maximizing your full potential in all those areas. What can we do to combat this? What can we do to combat this outside of being an example or being the change that we want to see? What can we do? What can we do to combat them being late? There are structural things, that we can do at home and at school, but just to be simplified with this, I'm gonna give you one of my best practices, and they're connected to post-secondary and vocational. And that's a wrap. Let me know what your questions or comments are, or questions, feedback. Put it in the comment section, or whatever platform that you're viewing this car conversations with Mr. Cage. It is difficult or hard to break a habit than it is to create a good one. conversation in the most simplistic form. One of my best practices that I will share with you is having the conversation. It goes back to one of the videos that we discussed, and I highlighted the 3 types of whys that there is, and the couple of whys that I use. WHY. This is the inquisitive why. Really wanting to learn and understand why, what the thoughts are of that young person. Why do they choose that behavior? The question is why. When this is done in a classroom setting, students will attempt to stall you out because they may process it as a condemnation why. But this is not the condemnation why. This is the inquisitive why. I really want to learn your thoughts, your feelings. Why do you choose this option when we speaking about this particular topic? So sometimes you have to wait. Then you may have to rephrase this question and reassure them that I really want to know your perspective. I really want to know your opinion. I really want to know how you feel about this topic. Y'all, listen to me. This is a safe space. This is me talking with them. This is a safe space. I want to learn from you because as much as I'm your teacher, I'm also your student. But we learn from each other, and this is how we learn and grow to be the best version of ourselves and the top performer professionals that affords us the ability to go into our communities and influence transformative change. So I'll say all that to them, then they'll give me, what they got. And then when they give me what they got, I don't refute it, I don't belittle it, I don't minimize it, I don't rebuttal it. My next statement is, I understand your perspective. And I understand why you feel the way that you do. Which that's genuine, but you have to go back and reflect to a time where you were in school. And that time frame may be different, but I guarantee you some of those behavior patterns are very similar. But once that is had, so I'm giving you a series of best practices to lead you to one. The one best practice that you can implement, whether you are a principal, assistant principal, teacher, counselor, social worker, parent, coach, this best practice will help you. But it has to be in a setting that the young person trusts you. It has to be in a setting where if they give you their opinion, you don't get offended. Because when we get offended, that's more connected to self-righteousness. Because we believe and feel that people should be our twins. They're going to think identically as we do. They're going to talk identically as we do. They're going to move identically as we do. This is not true at all. That's false. Trust me. It's false. But if you have that conception, then when the child or student shares, and it's contrary to what you believe, or they could be off. It's contrary, and you know that they off. If you strike their thought down, then the probability of them sharing it openly dramatically decreases. I can bring up a whole bunch of studies and research and evidence-based stuff on that, but I'm giving the evidence and research, primary research from my life and my tenure as a professional in the field of education. So that setting has to be in place in order for this to work. Then the best practice is this. Why are you in this class? Check it out. Why are you in this class, or why are you in school? Some of the statements that you're going to get is, if you're a parent, because you make me go because I have to. Some of the conversations that you're going to get or feedback you're going to get as a professional in education, whether you're a teacher, counselor, social worker, principal, assistant principal, is my parents make me go. You're gonna get that. Okay, understood. What class? What's your favorite class? What's your least favorite class? And here we go. You may not like this class. Let's relate. It could be boring. And it could be, and this is me having a conversation, it could be various factors. I don't name the factors because my goal is to be supportive of the parents and the educators, not to distance myself from them, because this is a village conversation. It could be born for various factors. Hypothetically speaking, student Zion. What is it that you see yourself doing after high school? C, vision. What is it that you want to be? This is called vision casting. I'm vision casting because I'm asking that person, what are you really interested in? What is it that you really want to do? Preferably, they'll give me something. They'll give me a career pathway. Let's connect that to a soft skill. Guess what, Zion? You may not like this class called World Affairs, right? You may not like this class for whatever reason. But there are soft skills that you need to master habitually that will help you in your future career pathway, no matter what it is. Oh, for real, Mr. Cage, give me one. Organization. You're going to need to be organized no matter what career field that you go into. Organization is going to be key. Discipline is going to be key. Teamwork is going to be key. Cooperation is going to be key. Listening to instruction is going to be key. I was in a conversation, this is a real life situation. I was in a conversation with a young man, and he wants to be a mechanic because he's a tactile learner. He works with his hands. And I think he wanted to be, I'm leaning that he wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so when he told me that, I asked him, I don't know how we came to this conversation, but I told him, what's your goal as far as how much revenue do you want to generate? How much money do you want to make? He said, enough. I told him, that's not good enough. It's got to be specific, because if you don't have a specific number, you can't create a specific plan for execution. And I shared with him our plan, our business plan. And I broke down the products and the services, the cost, how many, and the ultimate goal. Organization. So to summarize this section and to move forward, what I'm conveying to us is that the student or child may not be interested in this topic. We can't make them be interested by force feeding them. There's other environmental factors, whether it be home or in school, that influences a student's buy-in to a specific subject, or in addition to their level of interest. But we can have some type of influence by highlighting skills that they may be learning experientially that's in connection to their long-term goal. You got it? It's in connection to their long-term goal. Because it is extremely difficult or hard to break a habit than it is to create a new one. So now we've come to the point where they have an understanding of the conversation, but we have to be patient and let the fruit of the conversation manifest. Entirely too many times, us as adults, whether we professionals or parents, believe that when we say something, our child or young person or young adult is going to go in that direction. It takes time. It takes time for a flower to bloom. It takes time for a tree to grow. The day that the fruit is planted is not the day that you see the fruit. That's somebody quote, I don't remember who it was. The day that you plant the seed is not the day that you see the fruit. We have to be patient, We have to give sun. We have to give water. Sun is environmental conditions, which really represents revelation and light. We have to give water. We have to find, not necessarily find the space to speak, but the right timing to speak, and also watering is environmental. So if we're talking about soft skills, then I'm putting literature around you. I'm putting you in environments where that's highlighted. It could be a young person's workshop. It could be a college or career fair. It could be a talk taking place at the library. These are different environmental factors, environmental factors externally that you putting the person in, the child or the young adult in, to water the seed that has been planted. But in order for that seed to be planted, it must fall on soft ground. It must fall into the ground that's reflective of a heart of trust. You got me? It has to have a degree of trust. All right, finishing this out, this conversation, car conversations. Thank you for hanging with me as much as you did. Make sure you put your comments and questions or feedback or questions in the comment section. Also, too, feel free to contribute to our campaign, the potential campaign, which is set up to service low-income schools and single-parent family homes. Last piece of the conversation is the post-secondary aspect, and I'm just gonna really touch on the educational component of it. And it's not very long. It's pretty much kind of the same premise that we've been building on. Same premise that we've been building on. Whoo! If our children or students are coming late to class, whoo, this is a blanket statement, then anything that resembles school, they're gonna disconnect from. They're gonna disengage. This is off evidence-based stuff that I've read and studied. It's off my own personal experience of being a student and being a teacher and a facilitator. If it's something, if students have already been disengaged in school and they've already had a habitual behavior pattern of being late to class because they think it's just a class and not a habit, then any environment that resembles school, they will disconnect. If the previous method and other complementary methods are not employed. Trust me on this. Real talk. It's harder to break a bad habit than it is to create a new one. It's harder. You create a new habit, it can happen environmentally. But to break it because it's been built over a substantial period of time, man, it's difficult. It's difficult. So the post-secondary education, somewhere down the line, the student is going to have to do some form of schooling, whether it be on a computer, whether it be with a hard copy, physical piece of paper, pen or pencil. This is why the previous method is important. No person, and this is me closing this out, no person on the face of the planet is going to succeed in life in any industry without some form of education. What that means is we have to distinguish and determine the difference between schooling and education. Education can take place in the institution or a building of a school, but education takes place everywhere outside of the building. Education has no walls. School does. School has time constraints. Education does not. So having that conversation, parents specifically, the in-depth conversation to help our students and kids distinguish the distinct difference, and I said distinct, I'm using a lot of words because I'm trying to emphasize this point, helping them define and distinguish the difference between education and school is important, because if we don't, when they go into these post-secondary educational experiences, and it don't have to be in a traditional college or school, but it may take form in the classroom, no matter if it's a traditional form of education, like if I'm going to school for nursing or for a trade, they're going to have to be in some form of a classroom, y'all. But if their conceptions has been embedded in their subconscious, and then when they go into these rooms, immediately the school projection is going to pop on their screen and they're going to disconnect. We don't want that, because if they disconnect from the post-secondary experience and try to avoid it, then they're going to go into a job. And that job is probably going to be something where it's going to be some intense labor. They're going to be using their bodies in some form or fashion, not more so their minds, but their bodies. The question that I would leave you with to ponder is, what are we focusing on? Are we focusing on the habit or the consequence? The consequence can be seen as both positive and negative. But if I were to kind of remix the statement, are we focused on the habit or the goal? We need the goal, but we need to place emphasis on the habit, because the habit, bit by bit, allows us, our students and our kids, to realize the goal or the dream that's in them. Car Conversations with Mr. Cage. It is extremely difficult or harder to break a bad habit than it is to create a new one. Like, share, feedback, questions in the comment section. Make sure you contribute any amount that you would like to our potential empowering youth fundraiser to provide services and products to single parent family homes and low income schools. Be great at what you do, but be greater at who you are.